Maintaining the Vision. Welcome to Ben's Business Podcast, episode number 43. Today I just want to share some of my takeaways from a 5-day workshop that I was at with Ryan Pinnock in London. This was a relationships workshop, but today I'm focusing on one key lesson about maintaining your vision. So another thing I just wanted to say is I've had some feedback about, a lot of feedback, great feedback about these videos I've been producing every week. And someone told me yesterday, I was just having a meeting yesterday with someone who watches my videos, and he gave me some feedback that's really fueled me up to keep doing and reminded me why I'm doing this. And really just a wee comment like that can really inspire the people who are the leaders who are actually producing content and putting things out there. Just giving them some feedback like that can really help, and I've seen when I give feedback to other people, it really does motivate them to keep going a wee bit. So always share the good that you have to share. Don't hold that back. And that's one of the key lessons actually in this video, but I've really received a lot of fire. It's feeded the fire for me to continue doing this Ben's Business Podcast and sharing the wisdom I've learned from other people and through my own life and knowledge and experience. So what he actually said happened with this podcast by watching it, and it was a video about doing more than you're paid for. He said that by following the advice on that video, he watched the video in detail and then he actually took action on it and he made a sale. And it was just that simple bit of feedback there that my video helped to make him and contributed to him making a sale, which was worth it in the range of about £1,000. So that bit of feedback gave me a lot of drive to keep going with this. So thanks a lot for giving me feedback. And I want to encourage everyone else who watches these videos to please give me feedback, because it really does help drive me to keep showing up every week and giving my audience, you, as much value as possible. So one of the lessons I had from a workshop, it was an actual exercise we had in the workshop in one of the days, and we were challenged by Ryan to go out and get stuff for free using the techniques that we've been learning about removing fear, our ego, and focusing on what we want. So through doing that, we had a lunchtime break, and we had about roughly an hour to go on our lunch break when we're getting our lunch and ask for something for free, and then share with the group when we got back. So that caused, as I've talked about from the last workshop I was at, caused a lot of tension, because you've got this hour to get creative and get something for free and no cheating. So like we bring something back and then share it with the group. So we're all committed to doing that, and most people found a way to do it. So one of the lessons I learned from that exercise is to not hold back, because what actually happened for me is I got a bit of momentum, and I shared with the workshop and the people at the workshop the lessons I learned and what I actually gathered, and I told everyone I'd went shopping. I think we're only meant to get one thing for free, but I kind of got some confidence and momentum by getting something for free. So I went away and got, this came out of nowhere, but I went and I looked at bananas when I was about to buy my lunch. And I said to the guy who had been buying my lunch from most of the days of the workshop, so I had a bit of a relationship which helped, and I started off small with an easy thing, and I said, could I get 2 bananas for the price of 1? And he said, yeah, sure, and gave me that. And then from there, I went on to get 3 free cookies. I only asked for 1 cookie actually. I just said, can I get a free cookie? But she mistaked the word free with 3, and then she ended up giving me 3 free cookies in the end. So the lesson there as well is there's, in terms of business and everything, there's more money out there than you actually think. There's more abundance out there than you realize. So it gives you that kind of abundance mindset of there's more, and if we're operating through our fear or lack, then we don't expect to get these things, and then you end up not attracting them. You don't get them. Another thing I went and asked for it on top of that, after having this momentum and going about after win, is I went up to two Chinese guys and asked for a 5p, and they didn't know why. I just said, could I have a 5p? And they looked a bit confused at first. There was probably a language barrier with my Scottish accent and them being Chinese. And one of them pulled out their wallet and gave me 50p. So again, I got more than I asked for just by asking for 5p. So that was an interesting lesson again, is that it reminds me of the principle of the eat that frog, when Mark Twain said that if you were to start the day by eating the most juicy, disgusting frog, if you were to eat a frog first thing in the morning, and it was the very worst looking frog that would taste disgusting, if that was the first thing you were to do every morning, you'd know by going about the rest of the day that that was the worst possible thing you were going to do. And the point of that lesson is that if we start by eating the frog, as in doing your worst task that needs to be done first thing in the morning, then you'll have that kind of momentum to complete the rest of your tasks, knowing that it's not going to get much worse than that. So yeah, don't hold back, because when you ask, you end up getting, and sometimes you get even more than you ask for by having the confidence, or the removing the fear to not hold back and just go ahead and move forward with what you want, and doing that in a non-manipulative manner. When it's really just focusing on what you want, you're not worried about anything else, you're just focused on that one thing of what you want, it tends to happen more. It almost surprises you how much is out there, how much you can ask for and actually get. So don't hold back. That's the main lesson I got from that exercise. When you hold back, you really just limit yourself to lack. The next lesson I learned outside of this exercise, just in the whole workshop, one of the key takeaways was putting the power in the vision daily. That was something that Ryan Pinnock actually said in those exact words, is put the power in the vision daily. And what he means by that is basically feed and weed your mind, and your subconscious mind especially, because your subconscious mind is where the people around you, the 5 people you spend the most time with, that's who feeds your subconscious mind. And if there's some negativity coming into your mind, you need to recognize that and basically weed it out. And also feed it with positive, get people who are higher up than you, get mentors, people who inspire you, and be surrounded by people who pull you up rather than pull you down. And reading books is something that I find is a great way to feed the subconscious mind. I attend a thing called Toastmasters, which is a public speaking workshop every fortnight. And every fortnight I go to that, I learn something, because people tell me what's in my unconscious. When I'm up speaking, I'm in flow, and I'm even a bit nervous standing up and talking in front of people. You're really operating in that moment, especially in impromptu live situations like Facebook Live. Unless someone tells you some feedback about yourself, it's hard to find that information out about yourself. So getting feedback is really helpful, and getting positive, not just positive, but like constructive feedback, digs things out your unconscious, brings it to your subconscious, and you start tending to acting on that. So feeding your subconscious with positive, even constructive things, and recognizing maybe mistakes that you're making in your day-to-day life. And that's how you can start to weed them out, and while focusing on your vision. So Ryan Pinnock talked about a really good, he showed us a chart on his workshop about, basically, if you can imagine, like, ego's here, your vision's here. Most people are operating through ego, and the ego is a collection of like your fears, your secure structures that you've set up from a young age, from childhood, from traumas and things that have happened. That starts to create a program in your mind that stops you from getting hurt again, or stops you from making a fool of yourself, or stops you from taking risks. And it causes cynicism, skepticism, and keeps you in your old ways. And if your old ways has had you where you want, or has you where you don't want to be, and you want to progress into moving into that vision, your purpose that you want to live in your life, if you're always operating from here and not from your vision, you can't move forward. And what we need to do is always be operating from and getting through that sort of threshold. So your ego's here, your vision's here. We need to get ourselves through that threshold and keep ourselves in here by feeding our subconscious mind, or just feeding our mind, that information about our vision. So we need to know about our vision, that's the first part. And I've actually shared a video on visioning, or on the definite major purpose, which is a previous video of Ben's Business Podcast. So if we can focus on that purpose, that vision, constantly, then if we're keeping that in our mind all the time, our mindset's here rather than in fear, then we can keep on progressing. We can really be, as I've showed you in that exercise, I was having momentum. I was operating from vision. I just wanted to get lots of stuff for free and have a good story to tell when we came back from lunch, which I managed to do. And that was all I was focused on. I wasn't worried about the things that happened around it. If I approached these people and they said no to me, I wasn't in fear of rejection, because if I was, I would probably attract the rejection. And that's how powerful the subconscious mind is. Whatever it thinks, it starts to attract. So if you can get familiar with what's happening in your subconscious mind, weeding out those fears and keeping it in the vision and in the purpose, what you're going for, and focus on what you want, then it's hard to fail. Because if you're in vision, you're in love, you love all human. So like you can't really fail in that kind of manner. You're unstoppable, you've got confidence, if you want to call it that, and you're in your genius and you're creative. And that's when creativity comes, when you're focused on just purely on your vision and no other cloudy distractions of fear and cynicism. And life starts to explode when you live through your vision every day. And to live through your vision, all you have to do is go back to that video about the definite major purpose that I'd done, and have those goals written, kept at your bedside cabinet, kept in your purse or your wallet, in your bag, wherever you go every day. Have them on you and read them every single day. And this can be a list, and it can be in chronological order. So I've got a list of what I want in 6 months' time, what I want in a year, what I want in 7 years, what I want in 10 years, and even 15 years. And you can keep going as far as you want. And I read through them every single day. And Ryan Pinnock also recommends that we meditate on one a day, because it can take too long to look at these visions and meditate on each of them. So if you look at one sort of short-term definite major purpose and focus on that for a month, you tend to get it. If you feed your mind with that positive vision that you want to have in the future, you will probably get it. And it's very exciting when you start to feel unstoppable in that way, when you're getting win after win, because you've figured out these tools to get what you want. So you have to know what you want, then you have to take these actions daily to get what you want. And that is staying in your vision and out of your fearful, structured ego, which has kept you where you are. And you will go from strength to strength. I've also got a great example of this. And I've been on the podcast show, Mr. Fats TV. Patrick Long runs that. It's a great show. I recommend you watch it. He does Facebook Live interviews with guests, and he's had some really good guests that I'm very, let's say, envious of some of the guests he's had. And one thing he's talked about that he does is he thinks of something and he takes action on it. And that's the lesson that Grant Cardone taught me, is that fear feeds off of, like, when you add time to things. This happens in sales and everything. If you add time to something, then you go back from that dial out of your vision. You start to go back to your old way. Because if you don't practice this, weeding your subconscious mind daily, you automatically by default fall back into that. And that's why people who read the Bible and Christians and Muslims actually have to go to the mosque and go to the church every week or every day, and they have to practice this stuff every day to keep the lessons in their subconscious mind. So people need reminded, or they fall back into default mode, back into their secure structure of protection and fear and cynicism, they fall back into there if they don't always remind themselves what the vision is, what they actually want. So one of the actions I've taken is I've got Ryan Pinnock coming on the podcast, and I focused on what I wanted. I wanted to get Ryan Pinnock, and I wanted to interview him on Ben's Business Podcast. So I've got him booked in now on a date after he made me work for this, and right through the workshop he was reminding me that I was to stop asking him to come on my podcast. But after a wee bit of that, I got what I wanted, and I'm sure Ryan got what he wanted in the end anyway. So Ryan's going to be a guest on the 7th of November in this year, so look out for that, and I'll be interviewing him. So come on with your questions for Ryan on the 7th of November. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this helpful.